So understand, under any circumstances, human beings will work to remove the discomfort first. Now I want to go back to that date, 1707 to 1778. What was going on in America? American chattel slavery. So now I have to ask you this question. Do you think slave owners, slave masters, men or women, do you think they went to church? You think they sang hymns? You think they probably assisted in raising the funds for the choir robes and such? You think? Of course they did. Of course they did. And that might have been on Sunday. But on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they were raping their 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old slave girls. So by the time they got to the pews, they had to be sitting there with immunity. You see, they had to feel, certainly it's not my fault, because after all, did it not say scientifically that they're lustful? Then they deserved what they got, didn't they? It's not my fault, so I can sit there absolved in the pews. Because human beings cannot function with dissonance. So what we understand about individuals like Linnaeus is he paved the way to ease the conscience of the white Christian world. And so when we begin to look at this, we need to understand it with another lens. So he also had a contemporary person that another person that he dealt with. His name was Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. Now, how many of you are familiar with the term or believe yourself to be Caucasian? It's okay. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, he lived 1752 to 1840, designated 5 races or varieties of man in the second edition of his treatise on the natural variety of mankind. His division into Caucasian, Mongolian, American, Ethiopian, and Malayan races with the added Linnaean descriptive peculiarities became the subsequent basis of most 19th century anthropomedical studies. While Linnaeus founded his system based on skin color, Blumenbach considered a combination of color, hair, skull, and facial characteristics as fundamental means for classifying the 5 varieties of man. Central to his study was the Caucasian, a term which he originated. Now listen for the science. He took the name Caucasian from Mount Caucasus because its southern slope had cradled what he felt to be the most beautiful race of men, the Georgian. The Caucasus near Mount Ararat, upon which the biblical ark came to rest after the flood, seemed the appropriate source for the original race of man. Now I'm going to quote him. These are his words. For in the first place, the stock displays, as we have seen, the most beautiful form of the skull, from which as a mean and primeval type the others diverge, by most easy gradations on both sides to the 2 ultimate extremes, that is, on the one side the Mongolian and science. You got folks walking around talking about being Caucasian, Mongolian, all that sort of thing. Now I want to tell you something. I want to share something. I've never done this before, but I'm going to do it in this audience because I thought about it from the context of really experiencing a thing. And then I'm going to talk to you about the definitive, something a little bit more definitive. With the people in the audience that believe, now before you stand up, I want to tell you, make you clear about it, that believe that you are African American. I'm saying that. Now that means that you don't suffer any difficulty or ambiguity when you sign the little thing, ask what your race is. Okay, and that means and I'm not mad at you, let's be clear. If there are people here that have a parent that's of another race, and they get up there and they're resentful because they say, I'm not this, I'm this and this. I want only the people to stand and to have no ambiguity about being African American. I want you to stand up. Okay. If you consider yourself to be African American, okay. Now, I want you to look around the room and you're going to find that people are of all hues. You got people with different facial features, different hair textures. Some of us got big butts and some of us wish we had a big butt, flat butts, all of that, different body type. We got all that going on. Now, those of you that are standing that believe yourselves to be African American, if you know of somewhere in your family that there's some white blood, I'm not talking philosophically, you can find them. I want you to sit, please be seated. Those that know of certainty, a pretty significant amount of you. Okay, now, those African American Africans that are still standing. Now, I always go to this group toward the end because everybody thinks they're Indian. Okay. I mean, the strangest thing about it is everybody got some Indian in them. I ain't mad at you, okay? I'm not mad. And the only people I know that can actually become, white people can become Indian. You know, so they braid the hair, buy the turquoise, and they in. Because they've decided they're Indian. I've talked to Indian people about that, but that's another training. Okay, so those of you in this, really that know that you have some Indian blood of the African American standing, you got some Indian blood. Go on and be seated. Now, of those African Americans that are standing, if you know for a fact you have some Hispanic or Latino blood in you, if you have some Asian or Pacific Islander blood in you, would you please be seated? Okay, can we now give an applause for the 2 or 3 or 4 of y'all that are African American? Now, we also had Africans in the room that just, came from the continent, I'm talking about the African American. Now, my point here, I got freckles. Something been going on here, okay? Let's be clear. So by virtue almost of being African American, it basically infers that you have mixture. Okay, it's mixed, all mixed up in there. And now let's get back to the 1-drop rule. Now, the problem is, here's the good news and bad news. All of you that are African American, those of you that got truly African American, those of you that realize you had other mixture, those of you that are biracial, what have you, in a racist society, you're all niggas. Thank you. Now, here comes the truth about race. And see, I do this as a preliminary because I've not begun the discussion, you see. Not really, because we have to get clear on a few things. We got to get clear. We aren't even clear about racism. So we got to get clear about stuff. And what we do understand, some of y'all thought, hair, skull,